Okay, it's recording. Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for taking time out of your Thursday to come learn about resumes. I'm Corinne. I'm a graduate assistant over at the Cohen Career Center. And so we talked about this a little bit, but we're going to do the presentation and then we're going to hold questions until afterwards. So without further ado, let's dive right into resumes. All right, so I feel like first we got to talk about what exactly is a resume. A resume is just a one-page document, typically one pages, that represents who you are to people who don't know you. Those people who don't know you are typically going to be employers for a full-time job or an internship or a recruiter. And it demonstrates your relevant skills and qualifications. So it definitely doesn't have to be this long laundry list of every single thing you've done in your life. It really is just about your relevant skills and qualifications. And we're going to talk about that a bit more later on. And then it gets you the interview. I think this is a bit of a misconception sometimes that if it's not on your resume, then an employer is not going to know about the experience that you've had. But really, your document, your resume is to get you the interview. And so keep that in mind when you're thinking of constructing a resume is what experiences do I have that are going to get me into the door at this company or organization. All right, so what should a resume be? Like I kind of already said, typically for students your age or recent graduates, your resume is going to be about a page. There are exceptions to that, like maybe you're going to grad school and they want like an academic CV, but when in doubt, usually stick to that one-page format. You're going to want it to be really easy to digest, really easy to skim, because the typical employer is going to spend about 6 seconds skimming your resume before they decide to read it. So having everything really organized and easy to read is really important so that you can get that employer to put your resume in the stack of, yeah, I definitely want to read their resume. Another thing that can get your resume over to that stack is to tailor your resume to a particular job type or industry or an internship that you're specifically looking for. So if you have an internship up that you're looking for, that you're looking at, and it says that you need X experiences, make sure those X experiences are checked off on your resume. So these are just some resume basics. This is our sample resume, our general sample resume that we have at the Cohen Career Center. Rebecca Greengold, our star. And so we're just going to look at it from a zoomed out look first, and then we're going to get more down into the weeds. So here are some resume basics. So the first thing we can talk about is visual appeal. Just like I said, like you want something that is easy to read and easily digestible. And the easiest way to do that is to have this well-balanced layout and to think in sections. So this person has an education section, a skills section, relevant experience, leadership experience, memberships, and volunteer experience, which sounds like a mouthful, but you don't have to have all of those. You can maybe just have relevant experience, or maybe you have something different like honors and awards that you want to do. It's really customizable, but think about it in those different sections that you want to highlight. For your basic formatting, you're going to go for that one-page format. But if you find that you're kind of going into that two-page section and you're doing the typical Times New Roman 12-point font, typical margins, you can cheat your margins a little bit and make them a little wider, but try not to go wider than 0.5 margins. It's kind of like the minimum you want to go, because then the printing could get a little wonky. You just never know if they're going to print your resume. And then also don't go below 10-point font, or else if they print it, they're going to be like squinting to find all of your experience, and that's just not going to be pleasant for the employer, and you want something that's easy to read. Clearly label all of those sections when you decide which ones to place on your resume, and we're going to talk about how to decide that a little bit later. But this person, Rebecca Greengold, has put their education in all caps. They have a line underneath it that really sets apart the sections from just the experiences. So really breaking that up into chunks makes it really easy to read. And then incorporating some design flourishes, some bold, italics, and underlining. Obviously, you don't want everything to be in bold because then basically nothing is in bold because it looks all the same. But this person has used bolding really well. I think they bold their titles at whatever experience that they're trying to highlight, and they've bolded William and Mary, and they've done a little bit of italicizing with relevant coursework. And so the less you do it, the more that thing stands out. And so really think about what you want to stand out and what sets you apart. All right, so those sections that I talked about, and we're now just going to go through like section by section of how to really construct your resume. So the first thing you want to do is your contact information. Obviously, you want your name on your resume. It's very important, and I would recommend you to put it at the top in bold, maybe even a bigger font size so that people know that this is your resume. This is Rebecca Greengold. Also include a phone number that works and that you are going to be likely to answer. Same goes for your email. I usually get questions. It's like, should I use my email from high school or should I use my William and Mary email? And I always kind of say, do whichever one you're going to check the most often. If you're kind of like me, I check my school email far more than I check my random email from high school. And so I put my school email on my resume because I'm more likely to check it. And you can, and they do allow you to keep your William and Mary address after school ends. So if you're worried about that, don't be. And then you can also put your LinkedIn profile URL here if you want to, if you have a LinkedIn that you're really proud of and want to show to employers, you can put that there as well. You can also put your town and state if you want to. I wouldn't personally put my full address on the resume. Definitely, it's a little outdated. You don't really need it. And just for privacy, you don't really need to have your address on there because they're probably going to email you or call you is going to be the communication. Nobody really writes letters anymore. All right, our next section is education. So congratulations, you have a wonderful education section already going to William and Mary, such a wonderful school that you guys are all attending. So what I would recommend is putting it in reverse chronological order. So start with William and Mary, start with your degree that you're currently pursuing, and then go backwards, especially if you've had like any community college or maybe you transferred from another institution, put the one that you're at and currently pursuing first, and then go back. So after your sophomore year, I would say you can start thinking about taking off all of your high school experiences, which includes your education, your education section as well. This is also a really great spot to put any study abroad experience. You may have put in some relevant coursework that you've done throughout your degree to really highlight those classes that you're interested in. You can put your GPA here if you want. Usually we recommend if it's above a 3.0, go ahead and put it on there. And if it's not, no one's going to miss it. So it's okay if you don't want to put your GPA on there as well. And then this person has their dates and everything balanced to the right. So they have their May 2024, 2023, whatever that may be for them over to the right side, and the same with their study abroad. My biggest tidbit when it comes to like dates and formatting and deciding where to go is do what you think looks best and then keep it consistent. So the consistency is going to make your resume way easier to read. So if you decide, I don't think I really like the dates to the right, that's completely okay. This is simply a format and a guideline to go off of. Put the date where you think it looks best and then just keep it consistent throughout your resume. And add expected if you haven't graduated yet. So what goes on your resume? You definitely doesn't have to be a full-time job, doesn't have to be a part-time job where you got payment for it. You can put all types of different things on your resume. You can put that part-time job that you have or that full-time job you did over the summer, but you can also think about your coursework. Think about any research maybe you've conducted. Think about projects that happened in a course or outside of a course that really displayed good skills and experiences. Think about volunteer, or think about the clubs and organizations that you guys are a part of, like FGLI, and think about any internships you've done or any volunteer experience. Really, it can be any type of experience. You don't have to limit it to just jobs. It can be anything that you've done at William & Mary or outside of William & Mary. So with that in mind, here's the relevant experience section. So relevant experience is the opportunity to show someone that you're applying for what is most important, and you're going to be displaying your skills and experiences. So starting with that relevant experience header. It could also be, doesn't have to necessarily be relevant experience. I'm a higher education major, and I put higher education experience for my title, and then I have my experiences after that. So for me, I work at the Cohen Career Center, so that is the first thing that goes on there. So I write graduate assistant, Cohen Career Center, Williamsburg, Virginia, August 2019 to present is what I would say. And then I have all of my bullet points, and we're gonna get into writing the bullet points in a little bit. And then after that, I actually have a club, an organization that I'm a part of. So I'm the director of programming for the Higher Education Student Association. And because mine is higher education experience, that totally works and fits under there. It's my job, and then it is a club and organization I'm a part of. So it's completely okay to mix all of those things up. So those bullet points that you saw, those are really important, and that's what's going to show employers what exactly you did at that job. So for me, I work at the Cohen Career Center, and I do presentations and things like that. So we're going to start with the particulars when you're constructing an experience, and put all of that title, organization, location, dates, kind of get those fundamentals down on the paper. And then what you do, your tasks, projects, any achievements that you've gotten, you can put those in your bullet points. And then what happened to you and what you learned. So that is a really good formula for your bullet points. So think about what your task, project, or achievement was, what happened for the result of your work, and then what did you learn from that work. So thinking about those questions while you write your bullet points. So here we have some example bullet points of what somebody did. So here's our fun little formula of you're going to take an action verb, what you did, and what the results were. So this person said they came in with a bullet point that they're responsible for several fundraising events. Awesome. What great experience that person has. But maybe they could be described a little bit better, and maybe it could be more clear to an employer what exactly they're doing. So they changed it to they organized and managed 3 annual campus and community fundraisers that totaled $5,000 in donations for charity. So they changed responsible for, which is a bit passive, to something more assertive, like organized and managed. They also gave us a specific of 3 annual campus events, which gives us a specific of how many that they've managed. And they gave us a budget totaling $5,000 in donating for charity. That's your result of, that's what came out of this. And so it's a bit more specific and follows that action, what you did, and how and what happened. And so here's the other example, which I think is also really great, is assisted with marketing for fundraising events. Again, it's a little vague. It doesn't really paint a clear picture. And they changed it to developed marketing campaign composed of social media and print advertisements for silent auctions and walkathons in collaboration with the executive board. So you've got the collaboration, you have that you developed the marketing campaign and exactly what you did for that event. It's just a bit more clear. So if you're thinking about your action verbs and it's kind of challenging for you to maybe think of something that isn't assisted with, fill in the blank, we actually have a really great resource on the Cohen Career Center website that is basically just a list of like 500 action verbs that could get you thinking about all of those great action verbs that you could use, and they're broken down into categories. And so you can find that on the Cohen Career Center website if you're getting a little stuck with that, because I know that is sometimes a bit of a challenge. And this is just what we talked about. So your next section, once you've kind of done your education, your contact information, and your relevant experience, the next is kind of up to you. There's a lot of different sections that you could think about if you are a leader in a student organization or a sport. You could do leadership experience, or if you are really involved in your undergraduate research, you could do research experience or volunteer or any other experience maybe that lies outside of your direct industry of interest. So if you are maybe an education major, but you've held a part-time job at Target and you don't really want that to be the first thing on your resume, maybe you do an additional experience or an other experience, because it's still great experience to be working at Target and doing all of those and having all those transactional skills that you're learning there. So here's a couple other examples of some sections that you could have. A skills section is going to be important, especially if you're a computer science major, or if you have a lot of technical skills, which I know a lot of us are going to have after this pandemic, that we are just so used to the computer, that in your skills section, you can do computer skills like Excel, PowerPoint, Photoshop, whatever you are comfortable doing on the computer. Social media, if maybe you're a marketing major and you want to do things in social media, and any language skills that you have. So if you're conversant in Spanish or fluent in German, go ahead and put that on there. Those are great experiences. Something with the skill section is some people kind of want to put detail oriented, or they're really great at problem solving in their skill section. And I would just keep it to hard technical skills like a language or computer program for that, because hopefully through those great bullet points that you've now written, you can display that you have used problem solving skills in an experience, or that you are really detail oriented through those experiences. So it's more of a show, don't tell. And then you can also put any memberships or volunteer experiences. So if you're a member of the lacrosse team, this person devoted an average of 20 hours per week to practice, travel, and competition while managing a full-time academic course load, which is absolutely wonderful. Anything that displays time management is great for your memberships. You also, if you find yourself like this person who is just a member of the anthropology club, maybe they didn't hold a leadership position, or they just weren't as involved in the anthropology club, they didn't really have a bullet point to put under it, and that's completely okay. Just showing that you're involved and interested in something is still really great. And that may also be I only have one page and I have so many experiences, and maybe I don't have a lot to say about the anthropology club, and that's completely okay. But again, I just want to emphasize that consistency is key. So if you are going between your sections, make sure every section is laid out the same way. So just like this person is member, lacrosse team, William & Mary, it looks exactly the same as their relevant experience section. So here is a really great graphic that shows employers and what they're looking for in recent graduates or students. So they're looking for maybe not so much those hard technical skills, but they're looking for critical thinking. They're looking for great oral and written communication, leadership, professionalism, and all of these great things. You can find this graphic on the Cohen Career Center. So when you are writing your resume, think about these transferable skills. Think about your critical thinking and how you've utilized it and how you can display that on your resume. And think about these 8 categories when you are writing your resume, and try to tick every box. So now that we've gone through the whole resume, here are just some final quick tips for you. Spell check, spell check, spell check, and proofread. Get as many people to read your resume as humanly possible. Take it into the Career Center. You can get a student career ambassador to read it over, or I can read it over, or somebody else, just to make sure that the last thing you want to do is hand in a resume with just one little spelling error. And then it's like, oh, I got off on the wrong foot, but I could have been really great for that job. So absolutely, spell check and proofread is so, so, so important. Update your resume regularly. I would suggest maybe at the end of every semester, think about the experiences that you've had, think about the organizations you were involved with, and write out those bullet points and write out those experiences on a master copy of your resume. I find that sometimes if you wait like 2 years after an experience, the details may get a little fuzzy. You may not remember so much of the details of what you did. And so doing it as you go makes the details a bit sharper, and it also makes it not so much of a beast to do like 2 years after all the experiences that you've had. So like I mentioned your master copy of a resume, which I highly recommend that everybody have, where it's just a long list. You don't worry about the one-page format or fitting all of your experiences into this format. You just keep a long list of all of them. And then when an internship pops up that you're like, oh, I'm really interested in that, you can just copy and paste your experiences from this longer master copy into that one-page format, the ones that you think fit that internship best, and then send it off like in that way. And that way you can just keep track of all the experiences that you've had, and it makes it a bit less stressful to have to keep it to that one page. Do the thinking for them. And what we mean by that is just be specific. If you give your resume to someone and they're asking questions about a certain bullet point or a certain experience, try and dig at that and see what is confusing about this. What can I clarify for them? So try to do the thinking for them so that when the resume comes to the employer, they're not asking those questions. On the Cohen Career Center website, we do have industry-specific examples. So if you are a business major or an education major and you're thinking, I don't really know what exactly that would look like for that specific industry, go ahead and check out a couple of those and see those examples. They'll also have really great terminology that you can use on there and more specific examples to an industry of your choosing. And then once it's all done, go ahead and upload that to Tribe Careers. That way now when you're looking for an internship or a job, you can just have it ready to go on Tribe Careers and ready to send off to that employer. Also, follow up with us. You can schedule an individual appointment through Tribe Careers. We're doing Zoom appointments and phone appointments, or you can email me. I'm going to put my email in the chat right after this. You can also follow this link if you want to do an in-person appointment. So what I would recommend is if this is your first time doing a resume, maybe take a stab at it and do your quick rough draft of it, and then come in and we can help you workshop it. Or if you have any questions about LinkedIn or a cover letter or specific job applications, we would absolutely love to help you through that. So go ahead and make that appointment and look on Tribe Careers for other crash courses that we do. We do ones on cover letter, job search strategies, internship strategies, and so many more. And we have a couple of them that are pre-recorded that you can also see on Tribe Careers. So thank you guys so much. I would love to open the floor for questions now, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen.